Gun Meme Review. What is up, you sexy YouTube mother lovers, and welcome back to another episode of Gun Meme Review. This one, we have a very, very special announcement. On behalf of myself and every other tax-paying American, I'd like to inform you that the US military has adopted a new service rifle. That's right, the military has finally made up its mind about who is winning the NGSW, or the Next Generation Squad Weapon Program. After a lot of time, money, and prototypes, SIG has won the contract with the MCX Spear. And SIG fanboys all over the planet have not stopped creaming themselves since. Now, there's a lot of information to dive into as to what this contract actually means, so I'm going to get into that, but more importantly, there's a lot of memes that have been floating around these last few days because of it, so let's go over those. So the contract was not just for the combat rifle, now being called the XM5. It was also for a next-generation light machine gun called the XM250 to replace things like the M249 SAW, as well as the new proprietary 6.8mm cartridge that both are going to be chambered in. Then, of course, yeah, SIG got the contract. SIG wins another government contract. Every other gun manufacturer, or just people in general.
You can't keep getting away with it!
Now, it is a little weird that SIG won both the contract for the military's new handgun a couple years ago, and also now this Next Generation Squad Weapon contract for the new combat rifle and light machine gun. A little weird. A lot of people are saying this is clear evidence that SIG is bribing their way into government contracts. Now, this could be the case, or it could just be that SIG is just that much better than anybody else at making good quality firearms. So yeah, it could be a bribe. I don't fucking know. But yes, the SIG MCX Spear beat out the other competitors for this particular contract, specifically the General Dynamics prototype and the Textron, both of which are different prototypes made by other companies to try to fit the parameters of the NGSW contract. Now, the Textron prototype looks fairly similar to the MCX Spear. The General Dynamics prototype, however, well, it's clear that they weren't copying anybody's homework. So there is a lot going on with that weapon, from that weird flash hider muzzle brake suppressor thing on the end that's pretty unique, to the fact that it's a bullpup. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to another video at ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian McCall, and today we take a look at the General Dynamics failed bid for the NGSW program. I personally can't wait for the day that Ian does a breakdown of this gun, because there's clearly a lot going on, and I would just love to see what the team at General Dynamics were thinking. Truly. Because I have no idea. Now, if you'd like to see me get my hands on the SIG XM5, or maybe even its light machine gun counterpart, the XM250, go ahead and subscribe. I mean, no idea how long it's going to take me to do that, but it could happen. But if you're enjoying this gun meme review anyway, honestly, you might as well subscribe. We do this a lot here. We have you surrounded. Come eat your 80,000 PSI of chamber pressure. I hate SIG, I hate SIG, I hate SIG. So that's the other thing. Apparently the SIG prototypes are built with a chamber that is supposed to withstand the maximum pressure of like 80,000 PSI. That's pretty fucking crazy, considering that the 5.56, which the M4 and the M249 are chambered in, that's much more like the 60,000 PSI maximum chamber pressure. Shit, even 50 BMG is more in line with that 60,000 max PSI. So 80,000 PSI is pretty fucking excessive. Which leads me to speculate, out of this new 6.8mm cartridge, they're going to try to push a lot more velocity. Now, they've openly stated that longer ranges and armor penetration are some of the goals of the program, which makes me think that they're moving toward hotter cartridges, more like the M855A1 and its .308 bigger brother, the M80A1. Armor penetrating projectiles, while also having the cartridge itself loaded a little bit hotter. Because what penetrates armor is velocity and harder tips, even if it is just the tip. Also, some memes have begun to point out that the US military has given no love in this trial to the HK417. You know, the battle rifle that's basically done the same thing as the MCX Spear, but for the last 15 years. It's okay, HK417. I still think you're neat. Now, honestly, whether you work at SIG, Textron, or General Dynamics, designing a weapon system like this for a military trial is no easy feat. My hat's off to all the weapon engineers that put their blood, sweat, and tears into these projects. And if anyone out there thinks that they want to be part of the next generation that pushes the next gen military weapon systems, I'd recommend checking out SDI. SDI, or Sonoran Desert Institute, is an accredited university that really helps lay down a solid foundation for weapons engineering and gunsmithing. If you want to get into firearm repair, design, things like that, and you don't really know where to get your start, I would definitely take a look at SDI. They're friends of the channel, and we're actually looking at doing some work with them on some other things, hopefully, very soon. So if you want to give them a look, I'll leave the links down in the description and in the pinned comment, and check them out. But speaking of weapon design, there's kind of one design about this new SIG MCX spear that some people seem to not be so happy about. How would I put this? Well, Marty Robbins said it better than I could. Fuck, this thing's heavy. Now, Grantham recently posted out this photo of the SIG XM5 with its Vortex optic that it's supposed to be issued with. That is drawn to scale. As he so eloquently puts it, oh god, the weight. Now, on paper, the SIG XM5 isn't that heavy. I think it only comes in at like 8.3, 8.4 pounds unloaded, but I'm not sure if that includes the suppressor or not. And it sure as shit doesn't include that big-ass optic. Speaking of optic, though, that's the other thing that just got adopted through this whole next-gen squad weapon program, the new Vortex optic. I guess the designation for this is it's the Vortex XM157 next-generation squad weapon fire control. I hear fire control, I think a fire control group, like a trigger group, but fire control in this case is referring to an optic. It's the government, it's fucking confusing. And speaking of confusing, Vortex just won a $2.7 billion contract as part of this whole deal to make this confusing optic. Now, it does have a backup etched reticle, but this optic is supposed to be basically fucking Cortana. The real Cortana, not the one from the Halo show. I'm not hating yet, but I guess that's my standard for 2022 TV shows. These XM157 optics include an amazing set of features. Variable magnification optic, backup etched reticle, laser rangefinder, ballistic calculator, atmospheric sensor suite, compass, intra-soldier wireless, visible and infrared aiming lasers, and a digital display overlay. So basically, it's so complex that your optic is now capable of giving you the blue screen of death. The way this shit is going, in 5 years I wouldn't be surprised if your optic can also detect if you're injured and have Amazon drone deliver to you an instant tourniquet. That was a joke, by the way. That was a joke. No, Vortex, that was a joke. Stop writing that down. Vortex, stop! When you're trying to return fire, but your optic won't stop telling you how humid it is. As we're learning nothing from the Russians about conscript proofing your basic infantry rifle. Yes, I know that our standard, entry-level infantry training is supposed to be better, but Jesus Christ, guys, that sounds complicated. So anyhow, I hear the number 20,000. I think it's 20,000 of these new XM5 rifles are going to be ordered and fielded and kind of experimented with and see if it's something that the military wants to use to completely replace the M4. Many have come before it and tried, but let's see if the SIG XM5 has the juice to dethrone the M4. Honestly, it's a cool looking rifle, even though I personally prefer the aesthetic of the Scar. But I'm really more interested in that light machine gun, considering that comes in at like an ungodly 12 pounds. That's less than half the weight of the M240 Bravo, which is the light machine gun it will also be replacing, so that's pretty significant. But who knows, we'll see how this all works out with these experimental rifles, and whether or not the US military is going to have to reject modernity and return to tradition. Now, if you're ready for us to finally move on past this SIG topic, don't worry, we have plenty more gun memes for you guys. ATF, not a firearm. Firearm. That's as clear as I can make it. This referring, of course, to the video that we just released about how black powder guns aren't technically firearms. They fall under antiques, which means that somehow this is not a firearm, but a milled piece of aluminum is. I understand why they make the classification, but doesn't make it any less weird on the surface. Now, speaking of the ATF, a video that we made, 2 videos ago, was on Biden's attempt to now go after ghost guns, or 80%. We're going after ghost guns. But they're still legal for now. You have 120 days. And unserialized guns already owned or grandfathered. Well, yeah. And without a serial number, you can't prove a manufacture date. Angie. I mean, you guys got a point. It's kind of like how after Freedom Week in California, where they had that week that the judge put the stay on the 30-round magazine ban, everybody was able to flood the state with, standard capacity magazines, and then it was really hard to prove who had it before the ban and who didn't. So to speak, there's what's legal, and then there's what's enforceable. It's still going to be bad news for the people that are manufacturing the 80% and the parts kits and things, but for the general consumer that already has one, That's going to be very hard to enforce. Of course, none of this matters anyway if you have a 3D printer, right? You did it. You bought a 3D printer. Now you can make all the guns. You read Control Pew's guide and even calibrated your E-steps. Of course, you forgot routine maintenance, and now every print is a failure and your machine exclusively makes spaghetti. Or maybe it's just a random fluke problem and you chase it for weeks. Welcome to 3D2A. The amount of people who've never used a 3D printer that seem to simp all over the internet thinking that it's just a magic box that instantly makes whatever the fuck you want it to out of plastic, it's really not that simple. 3D printers, when they're properly dialed in, using the correct filaments, temperatures, whatever, they can run pretty reliably. But troubleshooting 3D printers that are misbehaving have led to more than a few sleepless nights. TLDR, if you think you could just open up a 3D printer out of the box, shove a USB with all your files on it, and just have parts start spitting themselves out, you're off your fucking rocker. That being said, the spirit of the 3D printing gun community is just American as fuck. I am actually giving away a 3D printer to commenters on that 80% video that we did a couple days ago. Should be releasing that, the winner of that soon. Announcing the winner of that, not releasing him. Yeah, he's not tied up in my basement. Allegedly. My carry guns, watching me clean my range guns. Joke's on you, I don't clean my range guns either. Honestly, my carry guns get pretty fucking filthy. I try to at least give them a basic clean every now and again, but it's inevitable. They're gonna get pretty fucked up. And that's why you carry the most reliable shit you can. And if you can't, you carry an XD. Kidding, kinda. But what do you carry? Just an honest curiosity, not an engagement question that will lead to pandemonium down in the comments. You know, when it's your first home invasion and you're kinda nervous because the robber won't stop saying please and I have a family, bro. Shut up. I have the talking stick. I mean, honestly, I live in Texas, so if you have a family, bro, you probably shouldn't be breaking into houses. A lot of motherfuckers around here have talking sticks. Having money. Ammo prices. Yeah, I do be missing the days of pre-coof ammo. Remembering 20 cents a round, 7.62 by 39 makes my heart swell and then hurt. Speaking of which, how do you think the military's move to 6.8 is going to affect 5.56 prices? On one hand, there should be a surplus in the market. On the other hand, there may be less companies trying to manufacture it in hopes of getting it purchased by the military. I mean, I'm obviously kind of an AK guy. I don't shoot a lot of 5.56, but at the same time, there's 5.56 AKs too. I have a small collection of historic and modern firearms. Wow, you must have a huge safe. You do have a safe, right? Not gonna lie, feeling a little attacked on that one. And a little offended you think so little of me that my collection could fit in a safe. I currently prefer safe rooms, and maybe one of these days I'll graduate to demo ranch status and have an underground bunker. Man's gotta have goals, right? Anyhow, guys, that is just about all I have for you this episode of Gun Meme Review. I appreciate your support. I love you. Say it back. And be sure to double check real quick if you don't mind to make sure that you are still subscribed. YouTube is still doing that kind of screwy thing where they're purging subscribers. Hopefully it's not targeted, but a lot of you guys are saying that you're being unsubscribed. So if you could check, it would mean the world to me. Anyhow, that's all we've got for you today. Have a good weekend, and I will see you sexy YouTube mother lovers in the next video. Thanks, guys.
Fuel is my obsession to make the perfect weapon. Like Rasputin's rise to the top.
These XM157 optics include an amazing set of features. Variable magnification optic. Backup retched etical. Fuck me. Anyhow, straight up fucking missed. That is just embarrassing.